Oh my God, you guys, come and sit down and shut the door. This is an emergency, and this is not clickbait. The feds have dropped charges against Diddy. I repeat, they have dropped charges against Diddy. And you guys, this is not a drill. We need to talk about what happened in the middle of the night, how this played an effect, and what this means going forward. You guys, again, this is not a drill. And this isn't just a little procedural thing. These are some of the biggest charges they have dropped, the violent charges, the ones that showed how deep and dark this whole case really was. And they just vanished. You guys, this is an emergency. Diddy's team will help us believe that we believe that the case is falling apart. And by the government dropping charges against Diddy left and right. Again, this is not a drill. We need to talk about what it means. Okay, so let's start from the top. Attempted kidnapping, gone. Attempted arson, gone. Aiding and abetting sex trafficking, gone. Now, you guys, you know I keep it real with you. I'm going to go live in about 40 minutes, but I want to drop this video first. Now, before we spiral all the way down into despair, I'm going to break this down for you, okay? Because while this looks like the government is folding, it might be something else. Now, what they dropped are state-level charges, the same state-level charges that Diddy's team had argued against. Charges that were based on California and New York laws. That's important because this is a federal trial. And keeping it federal might actually be the strongest and best legal strategy that the feds think they have to keep Diddy hidden away and squirreled away in jail for a long time. Okay. Again, like I said, you guys, this is big. It's huge. And honestly, a lot of people weren't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. The prosecution, let's call a spade a spade. The prosecution just made a move that has victims stunned. And legal analysis are asking what is going on. Again, multiple charges against Sean Diddy Combs have officially been dropped. Not dismissed by the court, not ruled on by a jury, but dropped by the government itself. Voluntarily, in the middle of the case. This isn't gossip. This is confirmed. This is public record that I'll go on live later to talk about. And I'm already asking the same questions you are. Does this mean the case is collapsing? Is Diddy about to walk? I know you're seeing the panic, and you have every right to feel it. But don't worry, because I got you. Because while this move looks shocking on the surface, my sources are saying, and legal sources, not my neighbor, even though I do talk to my neighbor, it may actually be more strategic than you think. And there's more going on here than what's being tweeted. Okay? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly which charges were dropped, why the government have made this decision, what this means for the remaining charges, and whether Diddy could still face serious consequences. Because yes, the possibility of conviction is still much on the table, and it actually even is a possibility that they did this because they think that New York State and California State are going to pick up those charges. You guys, if you care about justice, if you care about survivors, and if you care about this case not being swept under the rug, stay with me, because what just happened in the courtroom could shape the outcome, will shape the outcome of this entire trial. Let's get into this. Okay, let's get into exactly what was dropped and why that decision is way more complicated than it looks. As of June 24th, the federal prosecutors confirmed that they are no longer pursuing the following charges against Diddy. Attempted kidnapping under both California and New York law, attempted arson under California law, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking. Those were serious, violent allegations. These weren't PR crimes he was being accused of. These are the charges that pointed to violence, manipulation, and calculated harm. And now they're off the table, completely removed from the jury consideration. Now, why did the government drop these? Here's what you need to understand. And this is where the government's playbook starts to show. 1, The charges were based on state law, not federal. That means that they would have introduced different legal definitions, different jury instructions, and standards from California and New York, all inside a federal courtroom. That was messy. The feds decided that was too risky. It gives the defense room to confuse the jury or call a mistrial. 2, the defense just filed a Rule 29 motion, which basically says, Judge, there's not enough evidence to even let the jury decide this. So the prosecutors took the hint. Rather than get slapped down by the court and embarrassed publicly or confuse the jury enough to let Diddy walk because nobody understood what was going on, they dropped the weak link themselves. They cut off the arm to save the whole body. It's a legal retreat for sure, but one that protects the rest of the case from collapsing under crossfire. And 3, they may be repackaging those same facts, the threats, the control, and the abuse under federal RICO and forced labor statutes. While the labels are maybe gone, the conduct may still be used to prove a bigger pattern. That is key. Because if they can show this was all part of a criminal enterprise, the RICO enterprise charges sticks. And with RICO, they only need 2 predicate acts to lock in decades of prison time. So you guys, let's be clear. Despite what Diddy's side is saying, this is not the end of the case. But it is a test of how far the government is willing to go. They've already scaled back. They've already edited the story they're telling the jury. And now the major pressure is gone. While the remaining charges, RICO, SMEX trafficking, and forced labor will the remaining charges hold strong? Or will this trial shrink down into something easier to dismiss? You guys, we're at a crossroads, and new information is coming out every day. That's why it's important that you guys check me out in trial today. I'm going to court. It's starting late today. I'm going in at 12, taking notes, leaving when I need to, and giving you guys real-time updates. Because how this plays out next could determine whether the survivors get justice or just clean jury instructions. Because we need to look at what this means for justice and what could still go wrong. Because we need to zoom out. Because this isn't just about Sean Diddy Combs. This is about the playbook that the powerful have created to use to survive accountability. The moment the government starts dropping serious charges mid-trial, the public starts to lose confidence. People are rightly asking, is this really about the law, or is it about how much money you have to fight it and conceal evidence? And if this were anyone else, would the charges still be standing? And you know what? Those are fair questions. This is a new celebrity trial playbook. We've seen this pattern before. The public shock, the strategic ethics trial, confusing legal language, and a conviction, it's now a maybe. And then appeals, reductions, reversals, and deals. By the time sentencing comes around, these headlines have cooled, the pressure is gone, and punishment gets softer. That's how public memory works. That's how power stretches this to its advantage, okay? It's crazy that they dropped the most attempted, the most serious charges. And this is a playbook that the rich and powerful, ever since Tony M. effing Busby got involved, this has been allowed to happen. We'll talk about that later. I know you don't see the connection, but I do. And this is why I was so mad at Busby and lost faith in him. Because what his antics did, what his cases did, was muddy the water so much that we're left here. But we'll talk about that later. Let's just get into the convicted. If he's convicted, he could still walk light. Let's just say Diddy is convicted. But then what? The sentencing is its own game. Prosecutors recommend years, and the defense argues months. And suddenly, probation's on the table. And then come the appeals. The defense will say they dropped charges for a reason. The jury was confused. The evidence was circumstantial. And this wasn't forced, it was consensual. And in that moment, when the headlines are gone and the courtroom is quiet, that's when victims may lose everything. They've risked everything to say. So what do we do with this? We stay loud, you guys. We stay focused. We stop assuming that the first conviction is the final word, because the justice system isn't designed to protect the public from powerful people, not without pressure. And every sleazebag millionaire, every one of them, every sleazebag billionaire is using this ploy. And this is where we tighten down. This is a test, not just for the court, but for all of us. I'm going to keep covering every twist, every motion, every appeal attempt until this story is done. Because victims and the public, we deserve more than procedural wins. We deserve full accountability. And if the system won't deliver it quietly, we'll keep raising the volume. Because let's be clear, and I stand by this. The prosecution have signaled that they were only clear about Diddy being convicted on one of the major charges and are afraid that the jury will find a way to only convict on the lesser state charges and acquit him on major charges. I guess the prosecution thinks taking away the lesser charges option is a way to ensure conviction. Again, I can haggle on whether I think that's a good strategy. I'll do that over live and talk about it. Because don't forget, that's how the Young Thug trial fell apart. However, they deserve full accountability. And that we want to make sure that the public outrage stays up and loud, even through conviction. Because the sentencing is what matters. This is a test, like I said, not just for the court, but for all of us. I will see you on my next live legal breakdown. We will be in court today. The jury won't be there, but we will be there listening to the defense and the